Ain't this what they've been waiting for? You ready?
What's up, football fans? Nick Ciamarra here with the latest episode of Controlled Chaos. It is a gorgeous Friday, May the 25th. We got plenty to talk about on today's show. As always, current news, what to look forward to next season. And joining me today, the very first guest on the show, Kyle Erway. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Thank you for allowing me to be on the show. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Happy to have you.
You ready to get right into it?
Yeah, let's do it. Alright, so this past Wednesday, the NFL and the owners have agreed to a new national anthem policy. This policy makes sure that players will stand for the national anthem or they must stay in the locker room. Otherwise, they'll be fined if they do anything unrelated, like kneel, sit, eat Skittles, do anything besides stand. They're going to get fined. I think it's bullshit. What do you think, Kyle?
My opinion on this is that it doesn't help. It doesn't fix the problem. The NFL is more or less hiding it because, yes, the players are out of the public eye. They're not being seen kneeling, but at the same time, where is the conversation going to go? It's immediately going to go to who is sitting in the locker room. Because
Right.
Players are going to stand up for, my opinion is, the players are going to stand up for what they believe in anyhow, but they're not going to be in the public eye. But it's still going to be happening, whether they're in the locker room or on the sideline.
Yeah, I think the NFL is just simply trying to shove this issue under the bed, kick it away. You know, the fans are pissed off. The players aren't happy with the justice system, with how minorities are treated. It's just a terrible situation together, and until we start talking about it, until we start hearing each other's opinions, I think it's going to continue to be an issue no matter what the NFL decides on the rules.
Yeah, that's a great point you just brought up, Nick. I feel like until the league and the owners and the players listen to each other, until both sides listen to each other, the issue is never going to be completely fixed. And I definitely don't feel like President Trump coming out and calling the players who knelt sons of bitches helps this situation at all. I only feel like
not at all.
Yeah, I only feel like it perpetuates the issue. And I understand that at the end of the day, what the NFL is worried about is money and ratings. The NFL is a business at the end of the day.
Bottom line.
So I understand that is what they're focused on, and that's pretty much the sole reason they made the decision for players to force players to stand. But at the same time, you're taking away their ability to express themselves and express how they feel on a certain issue. So I feel like unless both sides really hear each other out and come to a mutual agreement, the situation's never going to be completely fixed.
Right. The NFL is simply ignoring it. You know, it's a tough situation to handle. So, I mean, I expected better, but I understand, you know, why they did this. They want to get rid of it. They want to see football, football, football. Nothing more, nothing less. So, yeah, it makes sense. But at the end of the day, the issue is still there. It still sucks. And, yeah, it's going to be there next season. You know, you already heard, I don't know if you already heard, but the Jets owner is actually going to pay fines for players who get fined for kneeling during games. So you can already tell that not every owner is on board with this, and there's still plenty of disagreements between these owners, between the league, the commissioner. It's just one big mess. All right, so on a more football-related note, the NFL has decided to change some of the kickoff rules, and they're going to test them out for 1 year just to see how it goes. So there's going to be no running start allowed. The kicker can obviously run up and kick the ball, but any other player may not run before the ball is kicked. Another change is they are not allowing wedge blocks. If you don't know what a wedge block is, it's when two or more players run side by side in order to block another player, hit another player, tackle another player in any way. And when the ball goes in the end zone, it is a dead ball and it's a touchback. You know, I kind of like some of these changes. I kind of like the old rules. We're going to have to see how it goes. I don't know. What do you think about it, Kyle?
I'm honestly split on this because from a football fan's perspective, I I don't like these new rules because I feel like it's only trending towards kickoffs being eliminated altogether. You know, if these rules don't work out, but of course we're not going to truly understand these rules until we actually see them with our own eyes.
Right.
But like I said, from a football fan's perspective, I don't like it because I don't want to see kickoffs taken out of the game because they're some of the most electrifying plays in the game. You have players such as Devin Hester and Jacoby Jones, who I know Devin Hester is a personal favorite player of yours.
Yeah.
But you have these type of players who have made careers off of being excellent return guys. So I don't like it from that perspective, but from just, from like a more human perspective, like I don't like to see guys absolutely get their head taken off at any moment and see them down on the ground and injured and not moving. That's the scariest part about it. I bet you can agree with me on that.
Yeah, I think their main goal is the safety thing, but I don't think kickoffs are going to get eliminated. I think this is kind of what they're working towards so that they don't, when any player, you take any of them and you put him on kickoff and he's running as hard as he can down the field, trying to hit anybody, and the receiving team is doing the same thing, trying to block that guy. That's just a crazy collision. Part of why there's so many head injuries that happen in this game. The kickoff is definitely the most violent.
Yeah, I was going to say that I feel that's the reason these rules came in the first place. And if they do what they're designed to do, I don't know how I can be against that, But if they don't do what they're set out to do, if they don't make kickoffs a little safer, then I think inevitably kickoffs will be taken out of the game. And I don't want to see that happen. I want to see these rules work out, and I hope they do.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you. Like you said, Devin Hester, one of my favorite players ever.
Yeah. Just don't want to see guys. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. I just don't want to see guys hurt and laying on the ground motionless. That's my biggest takeaway from this. Is I don't want to see that happen. So if the NFL can limit that as much as possible, I think that'll do the NFL the world of good.
I agree. So OTAs have started this week around the NFL. On Tuesday, all teams were starting their OTAs, which OTA, if you don't know, stands for Organized Team Activities. Guys like Tom Brady, Julio Jones, Rob Gronkowski, and many more star players did not report for OTAs. And a lot of people are making a big deal about it. I don't think it's much. I don't think a guy like Tom Brady or Julio Jones really needs to be there for practices in May. They've been in the league plenty of years. They know how it works. And for good or bad reasons, they're not there, and other guys are, and it's just how it is. Yeah, so what's your take on that, Kyle?
My take is that I agree with you to a certain point. My only issue is that unless you're a player that is in a positional battle, that's the only reason you would show up to OTAs.
Well, that's sort of what I'm saying. Yeah, like Tom Brady, Julio Jones, they've done it before. They've sort of solidified their positions. So they don't necessarily need to be there, even though it helps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then when you have guys like Le'Veon Bell and Julio Jones who are vying for new contracts from their teams, it makes no sense whatsoever for them to show up to a team activity in May when they could risk injury and not get the money that they deserve if they were to get injured before their injury. So my take on this is that if you're not in a positional battle, stay away from OTAs. If you're not a rookie or fighting for a position, there is absolutely no reason that you should feel that it is necessary for you to show up.
Right. If you don't feel like you have to be there, then yeah, I don't think you should be. You could get hurt, but at the same time, it's also helping you, so kind of a player's call, business decision, so I get it. Yeah, and like earlier this week to start OTAs, Hunter Henry suffered an ACL injury, and now he's out for the season. So I understand you looking at, the injury point of view, what could happen, what might happen at OTAs. I mean, but then again, that could happen at any practice at any time. So you're decreasing the amount of practices, which makes you less likely for an injury. So I get that. There's two ways to look at it.
Absolutely. You see guys like Hunter Henry this year, he was definitely coming into his prime. He's been trending in the right direction for the past couple seasons, and it's tragic. It's tragic for him as well as the Chargers that he's not going to be on the field this season because he was expected to be a focal point in their offense.
Absolutely. Antonio Gates, the legacy he's left behind. The Chargers were looking for a guy like Hunter Henry to kind of fill that spot, kind of be the guy at tight end, Phillip Rivers go-to, and that's just real disappointing about what happened to Hunter Henry from tearing his ACL.
Yeah, truly. And one last thing is just the fact that the Chargers cut Antonio Gates before Hunter Henry's injury. This could actually open the door for a return for Antonio Gates
Who knows?
in LA, but that's just speculation at this point.
Man, that'd be cool. See Antonio Gates get back to it. So Tuesday was certainly not a boring day in the NFL. Unfortunately, linebacker Michael Kendricks was released by the Eagles after 6 seasons. Ian Rappaport reported that the Eagles were looking for ways to get rid of Kendricks. Kendricks was wanting a trade. So, this was a situation that kind of got bottled up and then let out on Tuesday. It'll be interesting to see how they move forward without Kendricks. I don't know. What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, I think it's definitely interesting the timing of when the Eagles decided to cut him.
Yeah, kind of late, right?
Yeah, and he's getting a little up there in age. I mean, by the beginning of the season, he's going to be 28, so he's getting up there in age, especially for a linebacker, a guy who is making tackles, and it's one of the more physical positions in the game. But I felt as though he still could have been an integral part of the Eagles this season, since they are going to be somewhat short at linebacker with their new addition from Detroit, Paul Warrilow, out for the season with a torn ACL. But the main reason they got rid of him is because he was scheduled to make $7.6 million against the cap this year. So it was a financial decision, if anything. But for a guy who had racked up 459 tackles, 14 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, and 5 fumble recoveries in his 6 seasons, I felt there was definitely still a spot for him in Philly. But if it's not in Philly, it's going to be somewhere else. He's going to have another team soon.
He's a hell of a player from what I've seen, playing tackles in the backfield, got some speed. Like you said, he's getting up in age. But, it'll be interesting to see which team picks him up, how the Eagles transition forward after losing him. I still expect the Eagles' defense to be one of the top defenses, at least top 10, top 15. Since it is May, the draft has passed, the biggest points in free agency are over with, which means we're going to see a lot of new faces on a lot of new teams. It's going to be pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing the Vikings and the Rams, Kirk Cousins in a new system, on a new team with new weapons. I feel like he's going to be actually appreciated in Minnesota. I felt like Jay Gruden and the Redskins, they kind of didn't appreciate Kirk Cousins as much as they should have. For a while, the Redskins were looking for a quarterback like most struggling teams in the NFL are. And, Kirk Cousins was the guy for them. He led them to the playoffs back in 2015, and they've been close. They've been knocking on the door every other year. So I hope Kirk Cousins feels appreciated in Minnesota. I feel like this is a new chapter for him, a positive chapter, and I'm excited about that. Also, with the Rams, they just got a bunch of studs on their defense. They got Brandon Cooks on their offense. Some of those studs on defense are Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib, and Ndamukong Suh. They're probably going to get Aaron Donald back, even though he wants more money right now. So, a lot to look forward to on the Vikings and the Rams. Kyle, what do you think? What teams are you looking forward to next season?
The two teams that come to mind for me when I think of who is going to make the biggest leap this season are the San Francisco 49ers and the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
So the 49ers, I believe, with Jimmy Garoppolo under center, the sky is really the limit. Sorry for the cliche, but I believe this team can get to where they want to be with Garoppolo. With the way he finished last season, undefeated with a 5-0 record, I feel like the 49ers are in the area of not yet contending. I can see them truly contending for a championship in 1 to 2 years, but I definitely see them as a wild card team making some noise in the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it's going to be tough to compete in that division. There's a lot of talent. Could be the best division in the league. I still think it's the NFC South, but that West, they're coming up again.
That's up for debate.
Yeah.
But my second team, the Cleveland Browns, who I feel a lot of people can agree that they are the most improved team on paper. And it's not going to be difficult for the Browns to improve on their last season since they did go 0-16, winless. First team to do that since the 2008 Detroit Lions. But I feel as though the Browns, with getting hopefully their franchise quarterback in Baker Mayfield,
Hopefully.
Getting guys like Denzel Ward in the draft, having guys like Myles Garrett already on the defensive line, this team is going to look much improved from last season. I can see them going 4-12, 5-11, 6-10, somewhere in that area.
6-10 would be incredible for the Browns. As bad as they've been. 6-10 sucks, but hey, that's 6 games you won. That's
it
better.
Would give the team, the players, and the fans something to glimmer of hope.
Something to be proud of. A way for Hugh Jackson to keep his job. I don't know how he still has his job.
Not many guys would still have their job after only having 1 win in 2 seasons, but they obviously have faith in him. They trust that he is the guy to turn the Browns organization around, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do on the field this year.
Hugh Jackson was a great coordinator in Cincinnati. He knows what he's doing. I think a lot of it is some bad luck. At the same time, it's tough to win with the Browns.
And the personnel they had doesn't help. But I feel through the draft and the moves that they made in free agency, they did get Jarvis Landry, a nice slot guy.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like they're just going to make considerable improvements throughout the year.
Definitely. All right, so since we just talked about teams that we're looking forward to seeing, how about some players? Who are you looking at?
The players that I'm looking forward to seeing this season are David Johnson, bouncing back from his latest injury. The last game of the 2016 season, he broke his leg. And then in the first game of the 2017 season, he broke his wrist. So it's been a tough go for David Johnson the past couple games he's played in. But I'm looking forward to seeing him bounce back and get back to the level of top 3 running back that we're used to seeing. I'm also looking forward to Jimmy Garoppolo, seeing him in a full season in a 49ers uniform.
Yeah, me too.
And also, I think the player that I'm looking forward to seeing most and seeing what he can do in a full season is Carson Wentz.
Yep.
I think the Eagles, we know they were the best all-around team last year because they were able to go on and win a Super Bowl without their MVP hopeful Carson Wentz. But I feel even though Nick Foles did a fantastic job filling in, this team is outstanding with Carson Wentz, and they will continue to be good for years to come with this guy under center. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do bouncing back from his injury.
Yeah, absolutely. I also have some players on my mind that I'm looking forward to seeing them bounce back. Some players I saw last year, some players that got hurt. First and foremost, Alvin Kamara. Had him on my fantasy team, was loving that every step of the way. He could catch passes, he could run the ball. He was Drew Brees' best friend. Can't say enough good things about Alvin Kamara. I'm really excited to see him next year. Another player I'm looking forward to seeing next season is Odell Beckham. He's one of my favorite players in the league. I think he has the best hands. He's one of the fastest players in the NFL. An extraordinary talent, always exciting to see. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Beckham bounce back. Also, Deshaun Watson. I can't wait to see Deshaun Watson bounce back.
I really liked seeing Deshaun Watson play last year. I think he exceeded everybody's expectations of what he was able to do. I mean, he led the league in touchdowns before he got hurt. But since you just brought up Deshaun Watson, I will ask you this question. Since I brought up Carson Wentz and you brought up Deshaun Watson, who do you feel, Nick, is going to have the better comeback this season, Wentz or Watson?
Definitely Watson. Definitely Watson.
Really feel that strong about it?
Wentz is good, and I'm not worried about his bounce back. I think his injury was obviously severe, but I think Watson's got Hopkins and Will Fuller. I think if those three stay healthy for the next season, I think the Texans, sky's the limit for them with those three.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with you on this one. I think Wentz is going to have the better season coming off of his injury. While I think Deshaun Watson is an amazing young player and he's going to have a bright future in the league, I feel Carson Wentz isn't going to be put in a position where he is forced to do too much. I feel with his weapons such as Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar, Zach Ertz, who is a great security blanket, and also they added guys like Mike Wallace and Marcus Wheaton in free agency, that he's going to pretty much be set up to have a great season coming off of an injury. I think this is the best situation a player of his caliber can be in, coming off of an injury to have a successful season. So we can agree to disagree here. I think Wentz is going to have the better season.
All right, we'll see. We'll just have to wait for that one. All right, now that we've discussed, players and teams we're looking forward to seeing, how about matchups? Any matchups you're looking forward to seeing, Kyle?
Absolutely. There are a ton of games that I'm looking forward to seeing this season. Specifically, I have two on my mind. We have a Week 4 primetime game between the Ravens and Steelers at Heinz Field. I understand the Ravens and Steelers are divisional rivals. They meet twice a year, but this is still one of the best rivalries in the NFL. These teams are two old-style teams. They play good defense against each other. They're hard-hitting, and the games are always close and entertaining. So that's one that I'm looking forward to. The second that I'm really excited for is we've kind of already touched on these teams in previous segments, but I'm looking at the Week 15 primetime game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the LA Rams. I think these are two of the best teams, not only in the NFC, but in the NFL. And you have the two best quarterbacks from the 2016 draft class in Jared Goff for the Rams and Carson Wentz for the Eagles, and just seeing them battling it out, going back and forth. I expect a shootout, even though both of these defenses are good. I expect a shootout, a lot of high-powered offense, a lot of points scored. So the Ravens Steelers I'm looking forward to, and the Eagles and Rams I'm also looking forward to.
Good choices. Definitely one of the best rivalries in football is Ravens Steelers. No matter how good or bad each team is doing, usually both teams are doing well with their seasons each year, but Ravens Steelers, it's always a competitive game, always lots of intensity, lots of energy, whether it's in Baltimore or Pittsburgh. I also have a few games on my mind. I'm always looking forward to the two best teams, not necessarily two, but some of the best teams just coming together, some of the best players coming together, playing football. Week 1, we got Jags and Giants. And mainly the reason I'm looking forward to that game is to see Odell Beckham, his return, and him going up against guys like A.J. Boye and Jalen Ramsey, two of the best corners in the NFL.
That's going to be a fiery matchup between if Jalen Ramsey is on Odell.
Oh, yeah.
You better expect fireworks.
A lot of chit-chat. Hopefully not like the Josh Norman Beckham situation again. Anything can happen. It's going to be exciting, so mark your calendars for that one for sure. And another classic rivalry of two of the best quarterbacks in the game, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. They're going to be duking it out. Week 9 in New England, primetime game. Everybody who's a football fan, no matter where you live in the world, is going to be watching this game. It's going to be huge. Definitely going to have some big playoff implications on both sides. The Packers have been struggling to make the playoffs these past few years, but they're always knocking on the door. Last year it was Rodgers getting hurt. The year before it was Jordy Nelson getting hurt. Now, They got Adams as their number one. They got Jimmy Graham. Just signed Mercedes Lewis. So they got two big tight ends, a solid number one. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the Packers in general, but especially this game. Patriots are always good, always winning, always competing. So yeah, definitely an exciting one. Mark your calendar for this one too. So everybody knows the old saying, defense wins championships. And that's true in many circumstances. So Kyle, what team do you think will be the best defense next season?
For me, it's got to be the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jags, okay.
Last season, they were second in the NFL in sacks with 55. Calais Campbell leading the way with 14.5. They also led the NFL in interceptions with 21. So they've been a good defense ever since last season. But now the new challenge arises of replacing veteran leader Paul Posluszny, who has retired. This coming after many people felt that he could go a few more years, but he didn't want to put the team in jeopardy. Selfless guy. But the Jaguars team now has the job of replacing him. And I believe that guys like Miles Jack, Telvin Smith, Calais Campbell, Jalen Ramsey, and AJ Bouye will step up and have even greater role this season to ensure that the Jaguars replicate at least some of the success that they had last season. How about you, Nick?
I'm going to have to disagree. The Jags showed a lot of great things last season. A lot of studs on that defense. Part of the reason why they made it to New England, beat the Steelers to get there. You got guys like Bouye, you got guys like Ramsey, Calais Campbell, like you said, Telvin Smith, Miles Jack. The list goes on. It's just a tough defense. But, next season, if we're looking forward, we're making projections for next year, I think it's the Rams. I think they just have a stronger, better defense for next year. Aaron Donald, he will most likely come back. Definitely one of the best defensive players in the league, period.
Their defensive line is nasty.
Yeah, definitely. And now they got Ndamukong Suh,
absolutely,
Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters. Man, that's a tough defense. It's more of a gut feeling for me because right now I think the Jags look better, but I feel like the Rams are just going to come together and be a stronger defense.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things we'll have to wait and see, just like with the Wentz-Watson debate we had earlier.
Just because we haven't seen a lot of the Rams players play together yet.
We're going to have to see how they gel.
And Ndamukong Suh, they're going to have to find the chemistry on the field pretty quickly, and that's chemistry that the Jaguars already have. Now I'm hindering my decision. Yeah, I'm hindering my decision on these guys that I've previously mentioned on the Jaguars replacing Paul Posluszny. But I'll tell you, you could be right if the Rams defense finds their way and finds the chemistry. I really believe the Rams could challenge the Jaguars as the best defense in the NFL.
Just another one of those. We'll have to wait and see.
But definitely I see the Rams, Jaguars probably 1 and 2. Eagles up there too. But Rams and Jaguars I think are probably the premier defenses in the NFL this season.
Gotta also consider the Broncos. Having Bradley Chubb and Von Miller on
Absolutely.
That defense. That's going to be a hell of a pass rush. And they still have Chris Harris in that secondary. One of the best corners in the game.
Yeah, they're going to be a new look defense this year, I think, with Bradley Chubb. I think that's a new force in the AFC West.
A lot to be excited about on defense next year.
Nick, I'm sure you've heard that the Carolina Panthers have a new owner, David Tepper, who spent $2.2 billion to buy the Carolina Panthers from former owner Jerry Richardson after he stepped down. And David Tepper had an introductory press conference recently, and I know you've seen it. So, what did you think of it?
I thought Mr. Tepper kind of came off as a bit of an asshole. Yep. These reporters are here. One of them, most notably Ian Rappaport, was asking him some basic questions about the team, about what his plans are. And, he just kind of answered in a sarcastic, rude way. This is the only time I've heard this guy talk. So obviously I don't know who he is or what kind of person he is. But he just came off as kind of a jerk to me. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought a lot of his answers were very sarcastic. He even asked Ian Rappaport who the Carolina Panthers were, like what states. Obviously, Carolina. They have a heavy influence in North and South Carolina. But yeah, a lot of his answers were sarcastic and off-putting. And I felt as though because it was a lot of people's first time hearing him talk, he didn't have to go this direction with his answers.
Right.
He could have just been more straight up, you know?
I agree. Yeah, definitely. P. Diddy should have been the owner instead. He was trying to get that team a little while ago.
Yeah, Diddy definitely keeps it real. But on the field, the Panthers will be looking to replicate some of the success that they had last season, making the playoffs with an 11-5 record. So they'll be looking to do similar to that this season under new owner David Tepper.
All right, that's it. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed today's show. I know I did. All opinions and takes come from Kyle and I. All other content comes from NFL.com and ESPN. 2 weeks from today, Controlled Chaos is coming to the beach, so mark your calendars for that too. We will be filming an episode on the beach. It'll be me and 3 of my friends, and I can't wait. I'm very excited about that. Feedback and comments are always appreciated. Lastly, I would like to thank Kyle for joining me on today's episode.
It was a pleasure, Nick. Thank you for having me on.
Anytime, man. It's good to have you. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Peace.